You're listening to The Tide Pod, hosted by your friendly neighborhood PhD. Hey, everybody, it's another episode of The Tide Pod, and I'm joined by guest Andy Bain, and you're from Scotland, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm from East Ayrshire, which is not too far from Glasgow.
Okay, nice. But yeah, we'll get into some of your work and talk about what you're passionate about and things projects you have, all of that. So sure appreciate you coming on and joining me.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So I guess just starting out, if you want to give a general overview of a little bit about you and what you're doing these days, and anything you want to share just off the bat on your disability journey.
So I like most of my recent work has been involving food and the culinary arts. My condition my condition is congenital myopathy, which is a really long-winded way of saying that when I was born, my muscles were underdeveloped. That obviously resulted in me being in a wheelchair. And in culinary, while there are admittedly very few disabled chefs,
Mm,
there aren't any notable chefs in wheelchairs, and that makes the food industry a challenge for those in the disabled community. Well, at least here in Scotland specifically, that makes that a challenge for folk in my position or in other circumstances to get into the industry.
yeah.
My work over the last coming on 2.5, 3 year now. Man, it does not feel like 2.5, 3 year, I tell you.
I know
Uh
what you mean. The time flies like crazy now.
oh, it really does. My work over the last 2.5, 3 year has been not only improving my own skill set and improving my own abilities within the kitchens,
Hmm.
but oh, you good? Oh, thank you. My wife literally just brought me a coffee.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Oh, I'm kind of jealous now.
um,
I'm gonna have to get some.
um, oh, my work over the last 2.5, 3 year has not just been a case of me improving my own skill set and getting better within my profession, because that's what everybody does. They work on it over time, they get better, they sharpen their skills. It's also I've been doing a lot of work with food events. Like we get
Mhm.
over here, we got like food festivals, and
Is
they
that
would do
like a food truck type thing, or what is that like there?
it's kind of like that. It's like if you got a street food fair.
Yeah, and there's like little
It's
booths or something, and people are handing
Yeah,
out. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
it's like that. But like you've also got like demonstrations as well. So it'll be like highly renowned chefs, like Michelin star chefs or like restaurant owners from the local area. They'll come up and they'll talk about their business and they'll talk about the kind of food that they like to do, or if
Hmm.
it's a certain technique. Like one of the ones over here, is a chef, Dan Ashmore.
Hmm.
He locally sources all of his own ingredients. So like he will actually go to the likes of the Highlands and he will forage his own
Really?
ingredients for
Wow,
his
that's cool.
food. Like Dan Ashmore is absolutely amazing. I seriously look up to that guy so much. Um, but like they'll do demonstrations and they'll talk about their businesses. What I do, I don't have a business. I wish I did. But
Yeah.
what I do is I explain whilst I'm demonstrating like whatever kind of food that I like to make. Like my last one was raspberry and white chocolate creme brulee.
Oh, wow. That
I
sounds
made
amazing.
I made that straight from scratch. It was simple as anything. I made that for two reasons. The first one was that I get the feeling that creme brulee, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in America. I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure. You can correct me if I'm wrong here. Creme brulee has this idea of it being fine dining. It's very fancy. It's,
Yeah. Absolutely.
like,
That's how it is here.
yeah, well, it's the same over here. Like, you're
Yeah.
not gonna go to any like mom and dad's restaurant and get creme brulee. You might if you go to one of the fancy places.
Yeah.
I use fancy very loosely here, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I make the creme brulee because first off, I like to challenge the fact that it's fine dining because it is super straightforward to make. I
Like,
love it. I love making it. I love serving it to whoever's at the events.
oh man, that's one of my favorite desserts I think of all time. Like
Oh, it is
I
so
always
good.
get it when I'm in, my favorite restaurant for sure.
It is so good. I could literally make an absolute killer creme brulee.
Just
Like,
live off of creme brulee, huh?
yeah, just literally live off of it. Yeah. But
Yeah,
like I do that to challenge the fine dining, but also on top of that, I do that as and I'm setting myself as an example for it. I get to show everyone who is hearing me talk and hearing me go on about all this at the same time as that they're seeing me, who is literally just a guy in a chair. Or to them, I'm just a guy in a
right.
chair.
Yeah,
But I'm able to pull this off the same way as any of the restaurateurs, any of the Michelin stars can. Now, not to their level, okay,
yeah, yeah.
because obviously, getting a Michelin star is like some
That's
kind
a
of
big
gold
deal.
standard,
Yeah,
but I can still do it. I'm still capable of managing it, like in my own way, in my own methods, and
yeah.
still pull off absolute killer creme brulee or whatever it is I'm making.
Why do you think it's viewed as like a fancy dessert? Like, you think it's just, is it like the blowtorch thing, like getting the crispy top or what?
I think it is. I think it's also the indulgence of it
Mm,
because it is a very decadent dessert. It's not like a savory dessert, like like apple pie,
yeah,
for example. I mean, apple pie
yeah.
is an incredibly common dessert, especially in America.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah,
over here, it's huge as well. But like, it's not like that. It's really sweet. It is really indulgent. It's luxurious.
really like flavorful, like depth, like
Yeah,
I
it's
even think
like,
about like the vanilla beans, like there's a lot of
oh
richness to
yeah,
it there.
there's like a dozen different choices you can make in preparing a creme brulee. Like you could use
Yeah,
vanilla extract, which still gets you the same result.
true, true.
I'm gonna get so much hate from a lot of chefs when I talk about this, but like you still get the same results with vanilla extract, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're using proper vanilla pods, I mean like the ones you need to properly cut
Like
open
you
and
scrape
remove,
out the, yep,
yeah,
yep,
if you do all of that effort, it is infinitely better. Like
yeah,
I guarantee it's the same dessert,
yep.
it's still delicious, but the vanilla pod versus the vanilla essence,
It's so different. Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
night and day.
Like I love it when I, bite into one, you can see like the little small vanilla bits, little black
Oh
dots
yeah.
in it. It's like, oh, this is the real stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
again, that's the kind of stuff that I go into, and I go into that
yeah,
not just from the food, but from the accessibility of it.
yeah. I love that. That's such a cool thing to think about. I remember growing up, I was getting really into recipes and different foods, and like I was a Food Network like junkie basically when I was a
Oh,
kid.
same,
And
same.
yeah, like, did you watch like Emerald and those kind of guys? Did you like, who was your favorite to watch back when you were growing up?
Oh, when I was growing up, man, that's going back a bit.
Loaded question.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, so I was obsessed with watching the likes of Hell's Kitchen, Kitchen
Mhm.
Nightmares,
Yep.
and
Gordon
yeah,
Ramsay. Like,
Gordon Ramsay all
yeah.
day long. Marco Pierre White as well. I love both of
Hmm.
those guys. I am aware of the rivalry that the two of them had, and I'm aware of the
Hmm.
history between the two of them. But that was my thing. Like I watched that obsessively. It was kind of crazy. People were binging TV shows like,
Yeah.
Supernatural or Buffy or something like that.
You're
But
like, forget that. I'm going to Hell's
yeah,
Kitchen.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 That was me. But like I know that those shows have a lot of, TV drama element to it.
Sure. Yeah.
But I pinpointed the food element of that show and I picked up everything I could.
Yeah.
And
Is
that's
that kind
kind
of the
of where it
first place that you
started.
started picking up techniques? Like, was that your initial, or did you have like family or anybody that that kind of got you started on
Well,
that journey?
honestly, it was kind of more the TV, and I mean nothing against my family when I say that. I
Sure.
love
Yeah.
my family, but as a kid, specifically as a kid in a wheelchair, the kitchen is not the most accessible place.
True.
And that's no judgment on anything or anyone,
Yeah.
because, like, if you're in a family home and, my mom and dad, they done everything they could, and it was amazing. I loved my childhood because of everything they were able to do. Because I know that me being in my chair did mean there was more challenges.
Hmm.
Obviously, as a child, I had no idea to what extent,
Right.
but I did
Right.
know that there was things that were different. But
Yeah.
because of that reason, where a lot of chefs will say it was their parents or their grandparents or things like that, I did gain a bit of my inspiration from my mom.
Hmm.
But I didn't specifically learn from her because I couldn't. Like,
Yeah.
straightforward, I could not do that. I was physically incapable to, and I'm entirely I'm entirely realistic on the fact that that wasn't a me thing. That wasn't my mom. My mom
Right.
did everything that she could, and it
Yeah.
was just a practicality.
Right. Right. And I mean, just thinking about shows like that, I think the amount of different foods, different techniques that they bring in, it seems like, you just get this huge understanding and idea of like the huge diversity of, tools and
Oh,
techniques, it seems like that way.
yeah, 100%. Like, even the diversity of food. Like, it's not just one set of food every time. Like,
Yeah.
you watch Hell's Kitchen. Okay, they probably are making risotto a lot,
Yeah.
but they'll still have different types of food. They'll have things like, it'll be like Mexican food, it'll be Indian food, it'll be Polynesian style food, like a Polynesian themed menu.
Hmm.
The range and diversity in food, it's that's kind of what set it off for me when I began watching this stuff.
Yeah, and I mean they bring in like the constraints too, right? Like they force them to use certain themes or styles,
Yeah,
so they have to adapt, even if it's, I mean, even if it is a risotto, like if they constrain your ingredients, it's, a whole new experience every time.
exactly. Yeah. And again, that to me, that nods back to, again, I know it's the TV drama thing because it makes it more
Yeah.
challenging, makes it tougher, but that also adds to the diversity of it because they still manage to bring out, a variation on risotto, which is still very much a risotto in its own name,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's still absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it really is. I totally get into those, and back when I was a little more um physically able, like I would break out the cutting board and, kind of do custom recipes and that kind of thing. So it was big for me kind of growing up too. So that's really cool to hear, your experience with it too. But going back to the creme brulee, I'm curious, like what what are some like adaptations or what are some challenges that you overcome specifically, with the disability to make it?
Well, like specifically the creme brulee.
Yeah, or however you like, if you want to go just in general, like what, if there's specific
So,
tools you use or anything.
so the creme brulee, and with specifically speaking from my condition,
Uh-huh.
the creme brulee, I don't really find all that challenging. I think the challenging part for the creme brulee is the intimidation factor of it being fine dining.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of food, like kind of as a general basis, I feel like a lot of notion is put onto traditional methods, and specifically I'm kind of referencing Italian foods when I say this,
Mm-hmm.
because Italian foods and Italian chefs adore their traditions. And that's the thing. I get it. I absolutely understand that. I've worked with Italian chefs and they're incredible at what they do. Nobody can compare. But in terms of traditional methods around certain foods, that is when you start looking into it, that is where some of the challenge may be for those with like physical challenges.
Mhm.
For example, I don't have the arm strength to be able to roll out like huge like balls of like pasta dough.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, that
Like,
requires a whole nother level of physical ability there.
well, exactly, yeah. Or even reach as well if you're doing like okay, one singular pizza dough, fair. You like,
Hmm.
I can manage that. That's no problem. But if I'm making enough pizza for like, say I've got like my wife, my family, and
Hmm.
a couple of the guys around, for example, like if I'm making that amount, I'm gonna be tired by the time I'm even done it.
Right.
Like I
Right.
ain't even gonna want the food. I'm gonna want a nap.
Yeah, everybody else will be eating dinner while you're recovering.
Yeah, I'm just in the room. I'm just taking
Yeah.
while I'm there. But no, there are things like it's more like technology. It's more like all the newer things that are coming out. And the
Hmm.
first name on the top of my head is KitchenAid. I when I got the KitchenAid, it was my wife that got me it actually at the
Hmm.
literally at the start of all of this. She got it as a kind of, okay, you're on this journey now. I've got you this. Don't mess it up. But
Yeah.
but like when I got that, I started to look into it and I started to figure out everything it does because it's a stand mixer, but
Hmm.
you have the attachments to it, which includes the likes of a meat grinder, a pasta roller.
Yep.
You've got one that actually does flour as well. Like you could actually like grind your own flour down. It's crazy how much that does. Every chef will tell you it's like the workhorse of the kitchen.
Yeah. It feels like every show I've ever seen on cooking has the KitchenAid, sitting right there. And
Right, but the one thing that none of them talk about is the accessibility that it gives.
that's true. Yeah.
And that when I started to learn to make pasta, I didn't have the KitchenAid. I did it all by hand.
Uh-huh.
I knew the recipe, I knew the ingredients, that was fine. But like I did it all by hand. I was rolling it out, I was trying to thin it out. I don't know if you've ever tried to thin out pasta dough by hand with no help.
No, but I can imagine even when I
Yeah,
was able to do, that at least do the activity itself, there's no way I could have done the amount needed.
yeah, no, it's crazy how much. It is unbelievable when it's done. Do not get me wrong, like
Yeah.
I love it. But that same process that did exhaust me and
Hmm.
likely can exhaust countless others, the
Yeah.
the pasta roller, like the dough roller on the KitchenAid, that still gets you the exact same result. Like, okay, it takes a bit of effort, it takes a bit of time, but so does doing
Yeah.
the traditional method.
Yeah. I mean, like, considering, well, like me using a power chair and using like the footrest feature or like the elevator, I mean, it's not that different than that in a way. It's an adaptive tool to help us do things like that.
Exactly, yeah. And a lot of these bits of equipment and technology that is designed for the kitchen,
Hmm.
they're more advertised for ease of use, but I feel that that gets misconstrued a little bit because when they're advertised as ease of use and make things simpler, they don't highlight the fact that that could be used for accessibility.
Hmm.
They make it seem like it's simpler as in, turn a 30-minute job into a 3-minute job and that's it. Like, yeah,
Right.
okay, great. It does do that, yes. But that does not touch on the fact that those who wouldn't have been able to do that before, for, whichever reason, for
Yeah.
me being in the chair and my muscle condition, but it doesn't touch on the fact that that makes it capable for them.
Right. That's a good point. And maybe something that would take, you know, hours if it was even possible for someone with a, muscle disability. Like, all of a
Yeah.
sudden your time is like maybe more what someone would do just by hand too. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Like
yeah.
that is something that I honestly feel like I guess that's marketing as well as food, but that's
Mhm.
something that they don't get into, and I'll be honest, like, nowadays, like, this day and age, I'm surprised that they don't.
Right, I am too. It seems like with the efforts that are being made to, improve accessibility and kind of spread awareness of, like how we need to do things with adaptive tools that way. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
yeah, it seems like it's something that just needs to be talked about, period, because unless people are aware of it, they don't really know.
Well, that's something I notice a lot with specifically over here and specifically with hospitality is that
Mhm,
it's not excluded. Like, it doesn't exclude, the neurodiverse or those with physical disabilities.
mhm.
It doesn't exclude us at all, but it does not talk about any of the ways that we could be involved.
Right, right.
I got into this through, to be honest, dumb luck. But the minute I did, I fell absolutely in love with it. And I haven't looked back since. And I've been doing events talking about this all over the place. And I've got a few lined up this year as well that I'm doing the exact same thing. And I would do it 100 times over, you know?
Right. Do you find that it's sort of making a difference in spreading awareness? Do you think more people are, kind of, I guess, a little more understanding of what all is needed for adaptive cooking and that kind of thing?
To be honest, I would say so. Yeah. Like, I
Yeah.
still think I'm quite early on. So, like, I know it's not a case of, snap my fingers and the world changes, but
Right.
I think it is working because I've been getting more and more like messages and either it's groups or it's event organizers, they're messaging me and they're either asking me to come along and like talk about the thing or
Uh-huh.
they're asking me about how to go about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is a challenge in itself because it would depend on like first off it would depend on the kitchen itself.
True.
Because not every kitchen's built the exact same way. If you walk into a McDonald's, that kitchen is not going to be the same way as, like the Hilton Hotel.
Right. That's a good
Like
point.
those two kitchens are going to be massive, like vastly different.
Yeah.
But it also depends on like a few other factors, like the again, going back to the technology thing, what you're able to or willing to put into the kitchen to make it more accessible.
Mhm.
You've got benches, you've got like worktop benches that can raise and lower. That automatically makes a difference to a lot of folk.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. It's like some things that maybe even that you've sort of used or what your system is like when you go to a food show, and you're cooking and showing something like, how do you make that accessible enough to you where you can demonstrate what you want to, if that makes sense.
Well, quite often, okay, so my chair does raise up.
Okay.
I do actually have a
The
mechanism.
power elevator.
Yeah. It's basically like I keep calling it hydraulics. It's not hydraulics, but
It feels like it though, because mine's
yeah,
the
it does.
same. Yeah.
It absolutely does. I have that, and that does benefit me because it means I'm able to raise to a height where the bench
Hmm.
itself is okay. However, I have also been asked if I do need benches that would be either raised or lowered or something like that. And
Hmm.
I've not come across an event where I've needed to do that yet.
Hmm.
But knowing that that is there and knowing that some of them have been offering to provide me with that for the demonstration,
Hmm.
that is already kind of showing me that maybe what's going on here, maybe it is starting to shift a little bit more towards what not just I feel should be the way, but like in general. Because
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm talking about this from both a professional capacity and more of like a household capacity. So whether you are wanting to try and train and become a Michelin star chef, or if you just want to make food for your mom coming around, like
Hmm.
it don't matter. Food is food. If you like making food, do it.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. And I keep thinking, for kind of the next generation of wheelchair users coming up, when they find out about someone like you, doing the cooking and like following that passion, kind of regardless of what the disability or limitations are. I think that's a really powerful thing with the platform and social media and everything. But I'm curious, like what are your thoughts on kind of sharing your message through social channels, and like do you see yourself meeting people that want to get more into cooking?
I absolutely would like. I would absolutely love to do so.
Yeah.
Social media, like I'm on it all the time. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I mean, I'm on it all the time. I am terrible at posting though. Like, I am absolutely horrible. Like, I have got so many food photos. I've got so many like menu plans and themes,
Yeah.
ideas. Like, literally, the new Captain America movie's out right now, and I had an entire like Marvel menu kind of
Oh,
idea
nice.
around my head, and
Yeah.
like I've not to say I've done nothing with it. Like I'm still kind of working on it in my like in the house and for myself and my wife, but
Yeah. Yeah.
like these are things I probably should be putting online, and I'm just really bad at doing that.
Well, it takes a level of like consistency and, and then editing. And I mean, there's just so many factors involved with it, that it's almost a full-time job by itself. It
I
feels
think
like.
I think that might be it for me. I think it's because of the fact that like I don't always have the time to do so. Like
Right.
every so often I'll get maybe a bit of time and I'll be like, okay, cool, I can I can get this post about I don't know, like the time I was trying to do it was a full seafood platter from scratch in the house. And I'll put that up and that'll be cool, but I don't always have that time to do so. Normally, like after I make the
Yeah.
food and we've had the food, that's me done. Like again,
Right.
it's
Right. And
back
I
to
mean,
the nap, you know?
that's where the effort goes and where it needs to, I mean,
Yeah, well
and
exactly,
like
yeah.
even setting up the equipment to film or whatever, like during the process, I find being a challenge, just, I mean, even if I'm going to go drive around outside, if I wanted to take a video of something, it's like, well, by the time I find, the attachment, get it all set, and actually take the time to film, you're like, well, I'm not going to even make it outside to do what I was going to do in the
Yeah.
first place. So,
Yeah, I think that is it for me. Like I would
yeah.
love the idea of being able to do that. And I do love the idea of being able to do that, but I think it's more my mind gets intimidated at the time it takes to prepare it all,
Hmm.
and then the I guess they call it post production
Yeah. Yeah.
cycle of it as well. So all the editing and then where you're posting it, what you want to put, whether are you tagging people, are you tagging
Right.
this?
Right. And then if you start studying like what's the best like video format for delivery, and and then you're gonna like parse it down into like little small minute long clips, or like how there's just so many factors,
Yeah,
and
like are you doing this for a TikTok video or are you doing this for like a full on YouTube or
yeah. Yeah.
what?
And it's crazy too. Like you can't just say submit it to everything at the same time with one button, right? Like it's,
I
you
wish you
gotta,
could though.
man, just you go between, you got to post to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. I mean, it's like you need a secretary, or like a, not even a secretary, but like a social media, I don't know, assistant or something.
That
But
might be it. It might be a case of, a little bit further down the line, maybe I
yeah.
go ahead and get a social media guy and like, I could plan out what I want to do and then I'll get the social media guy to put it all up and
Yeah.
that'll be his thing and I can focus on my thing.
Everything else. Yeah. No, I get that for sure. So you said that you're working on a Captain America themed meal. Like what was that going to have in it? Like what were you thinking there?
So, okay, so I don't want to give spoilers away in the movie because the
Well, that's
movie is
true.
still
Yeah.
brand new. It's like very, very, very new. But
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either, so please no spoilers.
the parts that I can mention,
Hmm.
and I have to be really specific with this now. The parts that I can mention is obviously y'all know the Captain America role is very, extremely patriotic, extremely America.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
it's everything that the red, white, and blue is, and this is coming from a guy in Scotland, so please do not just completely blast me. But like, I was going for a lot of the more traditional American type things.
Mm,
And
yeah.
as a side note on that, with my wife being from Alabama, I did kind of add a little touch of Southern in there as well. That's
Oh
that's
yeah.
more that's more a personal touch rather than,
Hmm.
for the movie because I'm aware of like the whole thing about Captain
True.
America. He's not from the South. He's
Right. Right.
he's like just straight up red, white, and blue. The guy breathes Star Spangled Banner basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it was very on point to the movie, and I was kind of trying to get references to every character. Again, I can't say a lot without spoilers,
True.
so
Right. Right.
but I do that a lot. Like I can take another example to compare it then. So another one of the ones I did was Ratatouille from Disney.
Oh yeah.
And I've I can't even tell you how many times I've seen that movie. I've studied that movie front and back, man.
It's good, right?
It's so good. It is so so good. I did a theme around that as well, and it was pretty much everything French food. It was very, very like I obviously did the ratatouille dish from the movie.
That's what I was gonna ask if you did that for sure.
Of
Yeah.
course, you have to throw that one in there. If that's the one they see, that's the one they need to get. But also on top of that, I was adding in a lot more of the different elements to it as well. The different elements of, what it would be like to go for a fancy dinner in Paris.
Mhm.
And that would include, the wines, the breads that you would get, not just a case of traditional baguette, but it would be a lot of different options to it as well. And I do that. Like I take movies that I like or my wife likes or anyone really, or just I see a advert for and I'm like, that's a really cool ass movie. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
because of the way my brain is wired, I go to food and I think, okay, so if I was in this movie, or like if I was one of the guys from this movie, what would
Mhm.
I have? Sorry, my dog's going off here. I don't know
But
what's,
I don't notice it that bad at all.
but no, I would see the movie and in my head, I'd be like, if I was one of the guys in this movie, what would I see myself eating? Like,
Okay.
not just in case of in the case of what's on the screen, but
Yeah.
what would fit the theme of it as well.
You're trying to capture the character basically in the meal itself.
Exactly, yeah. So to take another example here, I'm still running along the Disney lines at the minute.
Sure. Yep.
Like the movie Hercules,
Yeah.
there's like no major food in Hercules at all.
It's a good point. I never thought about that.
I mean, you had like little bits. There was like a bottle of wine somewhere in it, but
Yeah.
I'm not counting that. That ain't a thing.
Well, there was some kind of market that they went to, maybe? I can't remember. It's been a
Sorry.
while. Was there like a market that they went to? I was trying to remember what food I saw in that movie, but there wasn't much.
There was really not like a lot of food in that. And the other one as well, that's slightly on the same vein in the fact that there's a little bit of food, but there's not like a lot of stuff,
Hmm.
is Aladdin. And
That
I
makes
mentioned
sense.
Aladdin because that recently got the I say recently, it's been out a little while now, I guess, the live action remake.
The live action, yeah.
Yeah. So there's been some food in that, but I do that. I find these movies, or in the case of Disney, it's my childhood, so
Yeah.
I have these movies, and I think if I was a character in these, or if I was from, in
Yeah.
Hercules, Greece, or in Ratatouille, it would be Paris.
Yeah.
What kind of food would I enjoy having? And I go ahead and I try and make it, and half the time it's kind of chaotic, to be honest.
Yeah. I
But
couldn't believe that.
like a lot of it is because of the fact that I'm working on it for the first time, and the more variation I develop on it, I feel that that does help me overall as well, because of the fact that I'm not just sticking to the same thing. Like, I'm not just making meatballs and pasta all the
Right.
time.
Right.
I'm changing it up. I'm doing linguine. I'm doing ratatouille. I'm doing risotto. That's
Hey, there's a puppy.
my dog.
What's your dog's name?
Ozzy. Like Oz.
Ozzy. Hey. Not wait, is it after Ozzy Osbourne?
Yes, it is.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome.
The hair color and the absolute madness.
It fits. I get
It
it.
does.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, it does.
Oh, that's great.
He's
Like,
also one that decides to try and follow me in the kitchen anytime I'm trying one of these.
what is he
And
looking for some scraps or something? Or
oh yeah, all the
yeah.
time,
Yep.
all the time.
Just
You
can't
can give
wait for the
that boy his
opportunity.
full, you can give that boy his full dinner, and he'll
Yeah.
stare at you like you've not fed him in a week.
I know. I know the feeling. Has he ever tried to like climb up on the table or anything to get stuff?
No, actually,
No.
he's not done that, but he does just sit and stare at you while you're eating.
Just
So
like right straight through your soul, basically.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me, I used to have one of the miniature dachshunds,
Oh
little,
yeah.
and one time somehow it ended up like by the stove. Luckily it was turned off, but
Oh.
I'm like the dedication it takes to like climb up the bar stool, jump on the bar, and then get to the stove was just I couldn't believe it. Of course, she was trapped up there once she got on top, but I was like, man, they go all out to get a bite of food.
No, he tries to, but he can't get up
Yeah,
to the table. He'll just sit and stare at you, like, as you
yeah,
said, stare right through your soul while
yeah,
you're eating, and that'll be him until either you're done or you've given in and given him a bite.
right, exactly. I mean, they guilt trip you like crazy.
Oh yeah,
But no,
the
I
entire
love
time.
the creativity though. Like when you're coming up with these ideas that are inspired by movies, but you're still like you're making it your own, right? Like you're bringing in your experiences and then what you've learned about that cuisine. And I mean, I just think that's such a cool way to express that in a dish.
There's a lot of the time with that, I mean, you're right. I do add my own kind of personal flair to it, but there is a lot of time I try to take my personal touch out of it, because it's more, I don't know, even if it's not something I'm actually serving to somebody else,
Mhm.
I think about it from the case of, if I was doing that, it's
Yeah,
probably just the way my brain kind of works with that, but I more see it as that. But yeah, like I love doing that.
yeah, that's really cool. I think that's and the more that you're sharing that with everybody, I'm really intrigued to see if there's others that kind of adopt that kind of approach or take inspiration from your work too. I think that's such a cool thing because I can't think of anybody I've seen doing like culinary arts or being a chef like that. And I'm like, well, there has to be you know that has to be going on just from thinking of my own interest in cooking. And I think that there's cool ways people can get into that.
Absolutely. I mean, like, and I hope that, whether it's me or whether it's somebody else, I hope
Right.
that it does go on and more people sort of, even just for fun, even if it's just like tiny wee things that you make,
Exactly. Yeah.
like, it doesn't need to be like full on menus for like French food or Greek food or any of this. Like it could be
Yeah.
tiny wee things.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing, it makes not only the movie itself more special, but it makes the if it's an event you're doing, like
Mhm.
say it's a new movie that's out. Again, we're going back to Captain America here. If
Yeah.
it's a new movie that's out and you're planning this out with like your friends or your family or your kids, like if you're taking your kids to the movies, like
Mhm.
surely having like a Captain America meal
Yeah.
to go see Captain America, whether it's during the movie or like before you go,
Yeah.
like that. I don't know. In my brain, if I'm a kid and I'm doing that, that's gonna make it way better.
Oh, I would think so. I'm thinking about even I have a nephew that's about to be 4 years old, and I'm like, I'm starting to think now, well, what could I, come up with after you've been talking about this to, like, well, he loves cars and he loves like Paw Patrol, those kind of things. So I'm thinking, hey, what if we did a like a themed, dinner with that even? But
Drop me a message. I could hook you up with something. Actually, Cars is one of like for a long time. I really did like the Cars movies
yeah.
because I went on this weird kick where I was kind of watching almost everything Owen Wilson,
Yeah.
and obviously, he's big in Cars,
Hmm.
so I watched that and I did my thing again.
Yeah.
So it was very that wasn't like nationally based. It wasn't like Hercules, for example, that's Greek food.
Hmm.
It was more like race food. Like, if you were going to like NASCAR or Formula
Yeah.
One or something like that, or like a Grand Prix, what would you have? And a lot of that stuff, I know that a lot of like race what am I trying to say? Not racetrack food, that sounds weird. But like food that
It's
you would
almost
get
like
at like a yeah, like
stadium
stadium
food
food,
or
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I know a lot of like stadium food is like, over here, for example,
Hmm.
it's very simplistic. It's, like you would get like a pie and chips or
Yeah.
pie and beans or something like that.
Hmm.
In the cases of that, you would elevate that a little bit higher. Like not to be incredibly fancy,
Hmm.
but to make it that wee bit more special than, just buying a hot dog.
Right, right.
I'm not dissing hot dogs, but like
I mean, they're good, but
yeah, but like, well, yeah, exactly. Like, you can get a hot dog that's like, what? I'm spitballing numbers here, like a dollar 50,
yeah,
and it'll be food, but I
yeah,
can guarantee you that ain't gonna be any good, right?
right. And even like over here, like some of the sporting events, they upcharge. I mean, like a hot dog probably be $7, $8, even some places. I
Okay,
think
I was way off the mark then.
it's
Damn.
it's ridiculous. I years ago, even I went to a football game. I think one beer was like $16. I'm like, nope, not doing it.
What beer,
I'll
sixteen
just
dollars? Seriously?
seriously, yeah, it's I guess that's our capitalism thing over here, apparently, but
Well,
that's a whole nother issue there. So
yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah.
we have the same kind of deal over here. Like, we have a thing called a Scotch pie.
Uh-huh.
Um, I can kind of compare it to a mince pie. It's not
Mhm.
exactly the same thing. Um, they're quite small. Like they are really actually small. They're about okay. I'm not gonna. I've still got coffee in this, right? But it's
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the size of the top of this coffee cup,
Gotcha. Okay.
and that was like £6, like £6.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
this would. I'd need at least two of these, maybe three,
Uh-huh.
to really call it a meal. And it was like
Yeah,
pound,
yeah.
like one.
That's rough. And then if you made it, I mean, if you got the ingredients and made it something similar on your own, you could probably, make so much more,
Oh, hands
I would
down.
imagine. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, easily. And
But no,
that's a
I'll
sorry.
I'll definitely have to get your recipe ideas though on the carbs thing because I could see that being something in the near future for my family. So
Oh, definitely. I'll hook you up with that. Like, I got ideas for currently the latest one is the Captain America one,
yeah.
but it really does not take me long to go through like either what a movie is based on or where
Hmm.
a movie is based, like geographically,
Right.
and go from there. So, like Black Panther, for example, I was a massive Black Panther fan, and a lot of that I did. I did a lot of research into that because I don't know a lot. Oh, sorry, no, correct that. I didn't know like a whole ton of like African foods. And I say that because obviously that's where Wakanda is based. And
Right.
with Wakanda being a fictional place, you can't really do that. So
Right.
like I was doing that and I was trying to theme it up and I was trying to actually get things that would match the vibe of Wakanda and the Black Panther in the movie.
Hmm.
And that's what I do. Like I love the creativity side of food in general, but doing that kind of thing, that is like part of the fun of the cinema, but also the food at the same time.
Well, and see, now you're exploring, the culture of different places too, and that's a whole nother element I feel like would be
Absolutely.
interesting. So, like, what would you say is one dish that you made that sort of had that theme to it, like that maybe you didn't even know about before, but you learned, something that was really unique or good,
Ooh.
or was it all good? I know it's probably
I mean, so quite the opposite. When I
uh-huh,
start these things,
uh-huh,
a lot of them begin quite badly because, again, it's like we said earlier on, like when you start learning something, you gotta work at it. You gotta try it out a few times around.
yeah,
The first time I tried to make souvlaki for the Hercules menu,
hmm,
it went terrible. It went really bad. I
yeah,
did not know how to make souvlaki. Um, but with time, with patience, I got there, and now not gonna turn around and say that it's absolutely incredible because I still think I've got a way to go. I
hmm,
don't have a background in Greek food at all,
yeah,
but I do like where I'm at with it, and I've been told that it is really good, so I'll take that. That's
yeah,
I'll
definitely,
take that win
definitely,
right now.
yeah. That's
But like it's just more the development of them as well, and that's why a lot of the time I'll try to pick like older movies like Hercules, like Aladdin,
hmm.
like Ratatouille, because they've been out for years and years and years, and
Well, and then you avoid the whole spoilers thing for sure.
yeah, well, you avoid the whole spoilers thing, but also on top of that, you have time. You have nearly an infinite amount of time.
Hmm.
Work on that menu if it's something you've not done, like me and Souvlaki.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I think I am.
I don't think I've heard of that dish. I'm gonna have to look it up.
It's really good.
Yeah,
Um, but if it's something like that, you give yourself time to work on it as well. And
right.
even the modern movies, you would still give yourself time to work on it, but that's the difference between like having enough time because it's not like a how do I put it? It's not like a timed event.
Hmm.
Like you're not doing, oh, this is the newest thing out. It's amazing. It's incredible.
Right. You're not necessarily trying to keep up with the current movies that are in theaters or something.
Well, yeah. And
Yeah,
even if you are, like, cinema is the one thing that you still have that window because they're not cranking out Marvel movies every week, you know?
right, right.
Like Captain America is the newest one, but the next one I believe is like it's either end of this year
Hmm.
or start of next.
Well, I know there's a couple series I think that are coming out in between, some of the movie releases.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't actually know about that. I
Well, I
know that
know.
the
Have you
Captain.
seen any of the Daredevil that was on Netflix for years, and then they're bringing that back to? Well,
Oh, I
Disney
didn't
Plus
know.
has the rights to it now, but
Oh, I didn't know they were bringing that back. I've seen the one before, but I didn't know that was coming back.
yeah, yeah. But if
Oh,
you like
okay.
that, they're starting to bring those back in too. So
Okay,
it's
that's got me interested. I'm gonna have to check that out now.
yeah, yeah. You might have to come up with a menu there too to work on. But
That's my next project. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. That's really cool, man. That's interesting to take that approach. It makes the seems like it makes the whole movie experience, more fun to
Oh, it
me.
really
But
does.
yeah. And I see you got is that a Cobra Kai glass as well? You got your
Oh
coffee?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Cobra Kai
Oh yeah, definitely.
all day long.
Yeah. I need to catch up on the newest one of those too. But
I think
yeah,
I'm on I can't remember. I think it's the final season I've not seen. I've seen the rest of it,
me too. Yeah.
but like the final season, I'm trying to find the time that I can literally just sit down, whether it's like a weekend or something,
Yeah.
and just go through it. Because if I remember
Just binge
rightly,
it then.
yeah, because if I remember rightly, it's like what, maybe 8 episodes.
I think that sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it might be like 8 episodes. So like, if I have a weekend and I'm free and I'm not doing anything, then I can just sit and go through that and
Yeah. It's nice to have some weekends like that where you
oh,
can
absolutely.
binge through. Yeah. Yeah.
In hospitality, there's not a lot of them, so
Yeah, I bet not. But well, that sounds really good, Andy. I don't know how much time you got, but I definitely think we could have another episode in the future too, if you're interested in something like that. But
absolutely, I would love to do that. I,
yeah.
there's like so much in terms of food. I know,
Oh man, yeah, there's a lot.
like there's so much in food in general, but
Yeah.
also because there are so few, not just chefs, but like people in hospitality with either cognitive or physical conditions. The This is something that I, as you mentioned earlier on about exploring into it and like having people talk about it more
Hmm.
with either myself or someone else or even yourself,
Right.
then the more that that gets done, the better it is.
I totally agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the sky's the limit there, and I'm realizing now that, like that's something I need to kind of explore and see who all's doing things in the cooking space, because it is another area of like passion and creativity that people, there's so many talented people like yourself, that are doing these things. And until I kind of got into this podcast where I'm meeting people and visiting about different things, now I'm realizing, well, even more so, that we're all humans with interests, like that. So
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. So I'll definitely be reaching out again. And is there, like, for anybody that wants to sort of get into cooking that has a disability, is there, like, where do you recommend they kind of start?
Oh, see, that's a hard one because that's kind of to start food
Uh-huh.
would really I would think about where you would want to start. Specifically, what kind of food do you like? Like,
Yeah. And
are
I'm even
you
wondering, like, if say you start just in your own home and kitchen and make like one dish, like that could
oh,
be the
definitely,
start.
yeah.
Yeah.
Start with that. Start with, and there is like a, a lot of chefs. Again, this is where I completely blaspheme a whole industry in one go.
Hmm.
Like, a lot of chefs will talk you away from like the packet things in the stores, and it's like
Right.
the cake mix or the cupcake mix, things like that. I don't hold judgment on using them to begin with if you've never made these before.
Right. Right.
If you have never made yourself a Victoria sponge cake, get Victoria sponge cake mix. If you have never made yourself, I believe it's just called yellow cake mix in
Oh yeah.
America.
Yeah.
If you ain't ever made that before, get it. Try it. See if you think it's fun. See if you enjoy making it and then having what you make. Because I guarantee, like, 60% of the result is not in making the food, it is in enjoying the food and the rewarding factor of knowing you made that.
Right. Yeah. And like
Like,
learning, I mean, even going through mistakes and figuring out, well, this results in it not tasting right, or maybe I change the proportions and then it does, I mean, like that's part of
Exactly.
the journey, I think.
And even if you're using things like a cake mix, like a packaged cake mix, for example, like there are still, I'm not meaning to put anyone off when I say this,
Mm,
but there are still dozens of ways that can go horribly wrong.
oh, that's fair. That's very fair.
So so if you do it and you nail it and you make like the best cake you've had in a long time,
Mhm.
first off, congratulations, because that is impressive.
Yeah,
And secondly, if you really enjoy doing that, awesome.
yeah,
Either do the same thing again, or when you build the confidence to do so, have a look at the ingredients that would be in that cake mix. So instead of buying the prepackaged stuff,
yeah,
you would use like the flour and the cocoa butter and the eggs and the sugar and all, like you would use them individually so that you know everything that's in there.
yeah, yeah, that
And
makes
that's
sense.
that's how you develop that kind of thing. Like I obviously didn't just wake up one morning and know how to make pasta.
Right.
Like I had to sit and study the basics of pasta, like how to form it, what's in pasta dough, like every ingredient. There's not a lot of them,
Right.
but like the ratios of it, the amounts that you need.
And the extent of like handling the dough, I would think too matters. And
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah, all that kind of thing. Like these things take time, these things take a bit of effort, but for someone who is starting out, and I guess I'm not just talking about people with mental or physical
mm,
disabilities here.
yeah,
I just mean in general for anybody who is listening in on this.
yeah,
If you want to learn food, if your starting point is a pre-packaged cake mix, buy it,
go for it.
try it. If you nail it, amazing. If you
Yeah,
don't, okay,
try it again. Yeah,
figure out what went wrong. Was it too oily? Was it too eggy? Was it, did you cremate the thing in the middle of your oven?
yeah,
Because I've done that. I've
yeah,
actually done that, but it's a case of finding out where your starting point is with what you enjoy making. If it isn't
right.
cakes, okay, make a
Yeah,
burger.
and maybe making it full circle if you want to try a very first creme brulee, and you use the vanilla extract and not the beans. I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can start with something like that. Like it's yeah,
definitely. And also touching on that exact thing, if it's more cost effective, because I know that that's a big deal.
that's true.
Like if it is more cost effective for you to use vanilla essence or extract instead of vanilla pods, because those things are crazy expensive. Like
Yeah,
buying actual vanilla pods, even over here, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in America,
yeah.
it's nuts how much those things are.
They I don't think I've ever bought one actually, but I'm guessing it would be a little more
So
expensive.
over here, you get like a, I think it's like 30 or 35 ml
Hmm.
bottle of vanilla extract for like, I think if I remember rightly, it was like 180, maybe £2,
Uh-huh.
which is quite a lot of extract. You do not use that much. You literally use like
Oh,
a
it's
couple teaspoons.
it's very minimal, yeah.
Yeah.
And it packs a punch
Or,
too. I mean, you would hate to use more than that too, I would think.
well, exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
But like for two vanilla pods, one of which you have to use in the thing, like you can't half those.
right.
At least one of the two that you buy is £7.
And what's the conversion for dollars? I'd have to look it up. Is it about the
Okay.
same?
So the last I checked, I think £2 for the vanilla extract is maybe around about $3, maybe 3.20.
Yeah,
For
that's not cheap.
the vanilla pods, which
Hmm.
are about £7 over here, you're talking like 10, maybe $11.
Wow. Yeah, that's not cheap at
No,
all.
that is definitely not cheap.
Yeah.
You're buying
Well,
the
and
quantity,
then
but it's crazy how much.
you have to have the right I mean, you can't just do it with any knife, right? Like you have to have a certain kind to sort of help you split that that pod and
Yeah,
scrape it out. Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna need all the right equipment for it because if you like, a lot of chefs will like to scare you and say, you know, if you damage the pod, then this happens, or if you
Uh-huh.
tear it, then this. Yes, those are risks that will happen, but
Hmm.
also on top of that, if you are starting out, if by some impressive miracle you manage to get your hands on vanilla pods, then work on figuring out how to use them before going ahead. Because as you
Yeah.
said, if you've got the right knife and you know the right technique to be able to actually split it and
Yeah.
then move the seeds and then do all this, great. Like amazing. That'll immediately start you off so much better.
Yeah.
And if not, or if you don't have the money to do so, which is completely fair because I know not a lot of people have $10 to spend on 2 pods.
It's true.
Uh, like if that's not within like your range,
Mhm.
then extract is completely fine.
Yeah.
Use like 1 to 2 teaspoons of it. More if you're really crazy, but I really wouldn't
Yeah.
recommend.
Yeah. I mean, maybe some people just are way high on, extreme vanilla flavor, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, if you're one of them, then fair play. I ain't gonna judge.
I mean, at that point, you might maybe wonder about just like buying a carton of ice cream and dumping the extract bottle in
Or
it.
just a straw.
Or that, yeah, there you go. That's even more extreme. But that's awesome. But well, I sure appreciate the time, Andy, and I'll reach out and definitely want to stay in touch and see what you're up to.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to it. And let me know when
Yeah.
you're wanting the cars menu.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's gonna happen. My nephew's birthday's coming up in April, so that might be a good time to
Oh,
try.
definitely then.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
Drop me a message. I'll hook you up with that.
absolutely. Sounds good. Appreciate it.